It all started on a hot Saturday morning in a quiet Texas suburb, the kind of neighborhood where the lawns looked cloned and gossip traveled faster than the mail truck. For weeks, Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, had been complaining about our old wooden fence. She said it was ruining property values. But that morning, she took things too far. Welcome to Silent Divide Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe because you don't want to miss tomorrow's story. The rumble of a pickup truck echoed down the street. Out stepped Karen in her usual sun hat, phone in one hand, clipboard in the other. But this time, she didn't come alone. Behind her, two HOA cops rolled out a chainsaw from the back of their truck. Mom peeked through the curtains. Grandpa was on the porch, sipping his black coffee, eyes narrowed. The sight of that chainsaw made his hand tighten around his mug. Karen pointed at our fence like she was leading an army. "Take it down," she ordered. That's when Grandpa slowly stood up, the old war look in his eyes returning like a storm. Before we dive in deeply, let us know in the comments what country or which city you're watching this story from. We'd love to know how far this story travels. The buzz of the chainsaw cracked the morning silence like thunder. Birds scattered from the oak tree, and the sound made Grandpa's jaw tighten. Karen stood proudly, arms folded, smirking as her HOA cops revved the chainsaw on the fence. Mom shouted from the porch, "You can't do that! That's private property!" But Karen only rolled her eyes and barked, "The HOA has full authority!" Grandpa placed his coffee cup down slowly on the porch railing, his voice calm but sharp. "Turn that thing off, son, before somebody gets hurt." The younger of the two HOA enforcers hesitated, but Karen yelled, "Ignore him! He's just an old ape!" Grandpa's eyes drifted toward the shed, the same shed that had been locked since his army days, the same one we were told never to touch. He stepped off the porch, boots crunching against the gravel, his voice low. "You picked the wrong fence today." Karen scoffed, waving her clipboard like a badge. The chainsaw roared louder. Grandpa disappeared behind the shed door for the first time in years. The moment that shed door creaked open, the whole street seemed to hold its breath. Grandpa came out carrying an olive-green duffel bag, the kind that smelled like oil and sand. He set it on the porch steps and unzipped it slowly. Karen's smirk began to fade when the metallic clatter of an M60 echoed through the yard. The younger HOA cop froze. The chainsaw went silent mid-cut. Grandpa didn't point it. He didn't have to. The sheer sight of that belt-fed machine told them everything. "This here's just for warnings," Grandpa said, his voice even but commanding. "Nobody's getting hurt, unless you guys make me." Karen tried to speak, but her voice trembled. You can't threaten HOA officers." Grandpa's reply was steady. "And you can't destroy what's mine." He racked the weapon, the metallic clack bouncing off every wall in that cul-de-sac. A single shell dropped onto the porch with a hollow ring, rolling toward Karen's shoes. The sound alone made the air colder. Mom whispered, "Dad, please." But Grandpa's eyes never left the intruders. The sun glared off the M60's metal as Grandpa took a firm stance in the middle of the yard. Dust lifted from the dry grass, swirling around his boots. "Step away from that fence," he said again, voice low and steady. The two HOA cops looked at each other, unsure whether to move or stay still. Karen, trying to save face, puffed up her chest and shouted, "You're going to jail for this, old ape!" Grandpa didn't flinch. He lifted the weapon slightly, just enough to make the warning clear. "I served 30 years defending this country," he said, his tone heavy with memory. "And I'll defend this property the same way." The chainsaw operator slowly placed his saw on the ground and backed up with his hands raised. Karen's face turned red, but her voice cracked now. "Put that gun down," she snapped, taking a step forward. The sound that followed was deafening. Not bullets, but the unmistakable ripping roar of the M60 firing into the air, sending warning bursts skyward. Dust and shell casings rained across the driveway. Every window on the block rattled. The yard exploded with chaos. The echo of the M60's warning burst still rolled through the air as neighbors screamed and ducked behind cars. The smell of gunpowder mixed with the sharp bite of gasoline from the HOA truck's leaking tank. Karen stumbled backward, clutching her clipboard like a shield, her voice shaking. "He's insane! Somebody stop him!" Grandpa didn't move an inch. The belt-fed M60 hung firm in his hands, smoke rising from its barrel. He swept his gaze across the yard like a soldier scanning a battlefield. The HOA cops froze beside the truck, hands up, eyes wide. "Drop the chainsaw!" Grandpa barked. The younger man obeyed instantly, the saw clattering against the concrete. Karen shouted again, but her words drowned in the roar as Grandpa fired a short burst into the ground. Dust and pebbles exploded upward, slicing the air. "That's your final warning," he thundered. The cops bolted toward their vehicle. Karen tried to follow, but tripped on the curb, sprawling into the grass. Grandpa stepped forward, towering above her. "Next time," he said, voice steady but hard, "bring respect, not a chainsaw." Sirens wailed in the distance. The street filled with flashing lights. Grandpa placed the M60 down slowly, belt rattling against the metal, and lifted his hands as officers swarmed the scene. Neighbors watched from their porches, whispering his name in disbelief. The fence still stood, bullet casings glittering at its base. The end. Please like and subscribe for more rich stories like this. Comment below, because we'd love to know where in the world our viewers are tuning in from.